Hi everybody, this is just a video to talk you through the instructions for essay number 2. So let's take a look at that. Let's start at the home page. Your screen is going to look different, but let's just pretend that this is what yours looks like. Okay, you can go to assignments. Let's see, essay number 2. I'm calling essay number 2 response to essays. All right, so let's open that up. You're responding to the essays, the articles from the collection of essays that we're reading. Right, so as usual, there's a timeline at the top of the instructions, break down the little tasks. Again, we have a proposal, we have a peer editing workshop, another letter to the reader, and then your final draft, which should be about 4 pages, if not longer. Okay, so this essay, let's look at the topic. So we looked at code switching in the first unit of the course, how you use language in different ways in your own life. And then in this unit of the course, we're trying to look at how we discuss matters of identity for displaced people, refugees, immigrants, right? Looking at how language plays a role in those discussions. So in the second unit of the course, we've been reading a lot from that collection of essays edited by Viet Thanh Nguyen called The Displaced Refugee Writers on Refugee Lives. So for this essay, you're going to choose 2 essays from this collection and compare and contrast them. As I note here, you must use at least one text that we have not discussed as a group, right? So we'll be discussing about, I think, 5 or 6 of these essays together. So you can use one of those, but you have to use one that we haven't discussed together, or you can use 2 that we haven't discussed together. That's fine too, right? But you have to use at least that we have not discussed together. You have to use carefully selected quotes from both of your chosen readings, right? We'll be talking about dropped quotes and in-text citation methods, right? So this is our chance to practice that. That's what we're doing with this essay, as well as engaging with the ideas. You need to unpack each quote, right? Using the sandwich method that I will talk about in class. And you should, pick careful examples and evidence from both essays that help you make your argument, help you compare and contrast these things. Okay, it should be a strong thesis statement and body paragraphs that both summarize and analyze, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. That's what we're practicing a lot with this essay is summarizing and analyzing and bringing together 2 different takes on the same topic and seeing what we can do with that in an essay. So I've got a sample structure here. Of course, my structure that I list, you don't have to follow this point by point, but it's a great way to structure a paper. In this structure, I have 7 paragraphs. I think that would totally get you to 4 pages, so this would be a good thing to follow. And if you're wondering, oh, how can I get to 4 pages? Well, if you do this and you include enough quotes from each essay, I think you'll have no problem reaching 4 pages. So you should, of course, start with an introductory paragraph, introduce both essays and authors. Don't go into biographical details, as I note here. No need for that. Get to the ideas, get to your thesis statement. Your introductory paragraph should be, 5 sentences long. It shouldn't be 2 pages of rambling material, right? Get to your essays, get to your thesis statement, get your ideas. Here's a sample, what you might use as a kind of model for your thesis statement, right? Remember, your basic thesis statement in an academic paper is X is true because Y and Z, right? You're making an argument, you're supporting it with evidence, and you're drawing a roadmap of that in your thesis statement. Okay, so there's a model you could use. Then I would go on and summarize the first of your 2 essays, right? Just devote 1 paragraph to summarizing each paragraph. Summarize the main ideas, don't get into the nitty-gritty of the evidence, right? You can do that later if you want to get into specific quotes, right? When you're summarizing in this short a space, you shouldn't be directly quoting from the source. You should just be paraphrasing. That means putting in your own words and moving on with that. So in this model, I would summarize the first of my 2 essays and I would analyze that, see what the author's doing, right? Concentrate on that topic. And you might choose a topic like, how they address race or gender or something like that. So I would do summarizing, then analyze. Then I would move on to my second essay. I would summarize my second essay, analyze that essay. And then in my 6th paragraph, I would compare the 2 essays. What do they have in common? What are their differences? And then, as I note here, you need to quote from at least once from each essay. So you should be quoting in paragraphs 3, 5, and 6. You should be quoting directly from your sources. You shouldn't really be quoting in paragraphs 2 and 5, or 2 and 4 as I have listed here, because you're summarizing and you don't need to quote directly when you're summarizing in such a short essay. And then, of course, paragraph 7 summarizes your conclusion, so you summarize your main points, and end with a reflection about the future, what you hope to learn about this theme in the future, perhaps, right? How things could get better in the world, something like that, some kind of future-oriented thought about your topic or theme, okay? So that's a simple structure. There are other ways to do it. You could summarize your first essay, then summarize your second essay, and then do your analysis, right? You could play with this structure a bit, but this is a very good way to move through the ideas, okay? Research requirements, you have to use 2 essays, and you can't use any other sources, okay? Just the 2 essays. Don't use anything else, as I've noted here. This is just you engaging with the ideas from 2 essays. So don't use Wikipedia, don't use things like gradesaver.com or anything like that. You will end up with a 0 out of 10 for the project. You don't want that. Okay, let's see. Some tips. So what we're working on a lot with this essay is your ability to read and paraphrase, summarize in a sophisticated manner. We're reading some pretty controversial and sophisticated essays. So your ability to put that into your own words is a skill that we're going to practice in this essay. And then engaging with the ideas, analyzing those essays, the complex ideas being explored, right? That's what we're practicing in this essay. Summarizing and analyzing complex ideas. And of course the mechanics to go with that, such as, as I note here, using guiding phrases, the author argues and the author claims, right? These are all key introductory phrases when you're summarizing, and quoting correctly when you're doing your analysis sections, right? Those are the mechanical skills that we're practicing in this essay, right? The summarizing skills and the analyzing and using quotes from material in an essay, those skills, right? Integrating quotes, as I note here. Okay, and there's some stuff about structure and content. You can look over that. Remember, this essay needs to be written in the 3rd person. Okay. Oh, no, I note here first and second. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you can use first and second. Your summary should be in the 3rd person, right? Summary should generally be in the 3rd person, but your analysis can be in the 1st person, right? I learned this, I think this. You can get into that in this essay in your analysis section, okay? But avoid using the 2nd person, right? That's an unacademic perspective to be using. So MLA format, double-spaced, 1-inch margins, 12-point Times New Roman font. Okay, please look over the material about MLA formatting if this is unclear. And finally, if you want a bonus mark, you can take a draft of this paper at any point during the writing process to the Writing Center and work with the tutor, and I'll give you a bonus mark, as long as it's dated before the final date of the draft, that the final draft is due. Okay? Okay, so if you have any questions, email me or ask me in person. Thank you and goodbye.